Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. In the earlier sessions related to the chapter of deductions under section 80, we discussed various possible deductions for SSCs, particularly for individuals under section 80C, which is in relation to many investments or savings schemes. And after ATC, ATCCC is related to LIC pension fund, and ATCCD related to the notified pension schemes by the central government. Also, we understood the overall limit for ATC, CCC, and CCD cannot exceed 1,50,000. And of course, there are some more conditions, particularly related to the life insurance policies, where the premium amount cannot exceed 10% of the sum assured normally. For handicapped persons, it could be 15%. And prior to 1/4/2012, these were 20%. So, like that, certain particular restrictions are also there in each of these items, which we should also remember while noting down those provisions and revising them. But ATCCD1 also has a restriction that the contribution cannot exceed 10% of the salary of the employee or 20% of the gross total income of any person who is not having any salary income. But in addition to the ATC, ATCCC, and ATCCD1, there are two more possibilities of ATCCD1B, which gives an additional further deduction of 50,000 rupees for contribution to NPS. Same way, employer's contribution to such NPS also can be claimed as deduction under ATCCD2, where there is a restriction of amount of contribution for government employees. It could be 14% of salary, that is central government employees. For all others, it is 10% of salary. But this ATCCD2 and ATCCD1B are over and above the 1,50,000 limit mentioned earlier. So that is various investments and saving schemes, and some of them are expenses also, like tuition fees, repayment of housing loan. Those are also part of ATC, very important section out of all other provisions under this chapter. 80D is also a very important one. Medical insurance premium paid by the SSC towards his or his family's health or parents' health. Normally, it could be 25,000 rupees. If the insured is a senior citizen, then that deduction can go up to 50,000 rupees, inclusive of 5,000 rupees, which can be paid in cash as health checkup or preventive health checkup plans. So that is 80D related to medical insurance premium. 80DD is a flat deduction, straight away deduction related to maintenance of a disabled dependent, and a flat deduction is 75,000 or 1,25,000, depending upon whether the disability is severe or not. For severe disability, it is 1,25,000. For a normal disability, it is 75,000. How do we know the severity of it? The severity should be 80% or more in order to claim 1,25,000. And here the dependent disabled we are talking. The SSC is not disabled. The dependent on the SSC is disabled. So that is a point to be noted. And who is dependent also is definitely to be remembered. But in any case, if it is given other than spouse, children, parents, brothers and sisters, it will not be considered as dependent. And when it comes to medical insurance premium, there is no need that the insured should be dependent. So don't try to mix the provisions. 80D is completely different. There is no point of dependency there. It is only about self, spouse, and children being dependent. But when it comes to parents, it doesn't matter whether the parents are dependent or not. So that small point is also to be definitely remembered between 80D and 80DD. 80DD is a flat deduction, so there is no other things to check. No calculations, straight away, either 75 or 1,25,000. For medical treatment of specified diseases, also there can be a further deduction of 40,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees in case of a senior citizen under 80 DDB. So that is not a flat deduction. It is actual sum incurred or 40,000 or 1 lakh as the case may be. Whichever is lower will be allowed as deduction under 80 DDB for medical treatment of not any disease, only specified diseases. What are those specified diseases? We don't need to know. But we should know that the amount of deduction available is up to 40,000 or 1 lakh, depending upon age of the person who is getting treatment. Then 80E is also an important section. That is interest on loan taken for higher education. That will be eligible as a deduction for total 8 assessment years, including the assessment year in which the interest has started to be paid by the SSE. So that is the 80E, no limit on that, no monetary limit on 80E. It's only that we have to check whether the education loan is related to higher education or not. So it is not related to primary or secondary education, it should be for higher education. That's it. That is 80E. And 80EE is related to interest on loan borrowed from financial institutions, particularly when the loan got sanctioned during the previous year 2016-17 and the loan sanction should be less than 35 lakhs or equal to 35 lakhs. Value of the house should be less than or equal to 50 lakhs. Interest on the loan borrowed under 80EE can be claimed over and above the 24B that can be claimed normally by the SCs, and that will be up to an amount of 50,000 rupees. But point to be noted here is this is applicable only when the loan sanctioned was during previous year 2016-17. But what about the loan sanctioned during our previous year 1920? For that there is a separate section, that is 80EEA, and here the deduction is more, that is up to 1,50,000 rupees can be allowed as deduction under 80EEA. And this is also same in addition to the normal deduction that can be claimed under the income from house property under section 24B. But main point here is the stamp duty value of the house should be less than or equal to 45 lakhs. That is a condition you have to check for 80EEA. 80EEB is interest on loan taken for the purchase of an electric vehicle. This is also naturally the loan to be taken during our previous year only. Prior to that, it is not eligible. Now, from 1/4/2019 onwards, this eligibility under 80EEB is there, electric vehicles purchase. Cost of the electric vehicle is not what is allowed as deduction. Interest payable on the loan taken for the purchase of electric vehicles is what is allowed as deduction up to 1,50,000 rupees. That's it. Here only point to be checked is date. Remaining things do not matter. So these are the various deductions we have discussed earlier, and now we can move on to some more deductions under 80G, which is related to donations. So let us particularly focus on the donations related deduction under section 80G. So here, when the SSE gives any donations to certain funds or charitable institutions, they have an eligibility of claiming some deduction under section 80G. How is that? Let us understand. First and foremost point, here eligibility is for every SSE. So an SSE is the word used. and there is no particular reference to individuals or anything. So far, most of the deductions what we discussed are related to individuals, but this one is available for everybody. So that is the first point you have to identify. Anyway, it doesn't make difference because our SSC in exam is going to be anyway individual. What are the types of donations they can make and what kind of deduction they can get? This can be broadly classified into 4 different categories. We can have 4 categories here broadly to understand 80G deduction. First category is that where the donation is qualifying for 100% deduction without any qualifying limit. That means there is no limit here, there is no qualifying limit or restriction in case the SSC donates to the following funds or charitable institutions. These names you have to remember. Sir, can we remember all of them? At least on a broader basis, at least yes, they should be somewhere in your brain. Normally, these are the types of funds which are eligible for 100% deduction, no conditions. Directly, whatever the amount donated to the following funds will be allowed as deduction. Somebody donates 4 crores rupees, 10 crores rupees, no problem. They can directly get whatever amount they have donated to these funds as deduction. First one of them is the National Defense Fund. So you can remember this one very much. That is National Defense Fund. Then Prime Minister's National Relief Fund, which is already there. Naturally, question comes, sir, what about PM CARES that is recently introduced? The question itself has the answer. Because it is recently introduced, it will not form part of our examination. So we don't have to worry about PM CARES. Prior to PM CARES, even in spite of PM CARES also, there is already a fund called Prime Minister's National Relief Fund. So any donation to the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund is eligible for 100% deduction without any restriction on the amount of donation or deduction. Same way, there is a fund called Prime Minister's Armenia Earthquake Relief Fund. These would have been formed in decades back, so we don't need to much worry about it. Where is Armenia? Why earthquake happened? When it happened? Why we created a fund for it? Maybe we would have donated it to them. This is all history, not income tax. So don't worry about it. Not necessary. Third one is not necessary to be particularly remembered. National Defense Fund, yes. Prime Minister's National Relief Fund, yes. Then Africa Fund, Armenia Fund. These are just names. We don't need much about them. Then National Children's Fund. Yes, children, you can remember. National Defense Fund, National Children's Fund. We can remember these two. National Foundation for Communal Harmony. Then approved university or education institution of national eminence. What are those approved universities? There will be a lot of them. Do we need that list? We don't need that. But we should just know that any approved university is here possible to collect some donations. And we are not talking about the university or education institution. We are talking about the person who has donated it. They can claim a 100% deduction of how much ever they donated to such type of funds. And then Chief Minister's Earthquake Relief Fund, only Maharashtra. So that is also not that required. Same way, Gujarat earthquake, not that much. Jilla Saksharata Samiti, that is like district level. Literacy development related programs can be done. That is Jilla Saksharata Samiti. That is also eligible. National Blood Transfusion Council or State Blood Transfusion Councils. Any state government fund set up to provide medical relief to the poor, general thing. Army Central Welfare Fund or Naval Benevolent Fund, Air Force Central Welfare Fund. These are all eligible for this. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister's Cyclone Relief Fund, eligible. National Illness Assistance Fund. Then Chief Minister's Relief Fund. Prime Minister's Relief Fund is there anyway. Chief Minister's Relief Fund also or Lieutenant Governor's Relief Fund also will be eligible for 100% deduction. National Sports Fund. So this national things, you can just remember all of them in one go. For example, we have National Defense Fund already. National Children's Fund is there already. These are all national dash funds. So National whatever the dash may be, there is a fund, and that dash can be filled by defense. So National Defense Fund, National Children's Fund. Here we have now National Sports Fund, and then we have National Cultural Fund. Okay, so all of them are national funds: National Children Fund, National Defense Fund, National Sports Fund, National Cultural Fund. All of them are eligible for ATG 100% deduction. The Fund for Technology Development, etc. National Trust for Welfare of Persons with Autism, etc. Lot of technical things like cerebral palsy and all that, mental retardation, etc. So fund, here we are talking. We don't have to worry about those ailments. Such fund, it is there, and if any donation is made by the SSC, he will be eligible for 100% deduction. This can be definitely remembered, easy to remember also. Swachh Bharat Kosh. So any donations to this Swachh Bharat Kosh also will be eligible for deduction, other than the sum spent by the SSC in pursuant of corporate social responsibility. So under Companies Act, companies are supposed to spend some amount in corporate social responsibility. That is different. That cannot be considered as a donation. We have to look at donation actually made to Swachh Bharat Kosh. That is point to be noted. And another fund is like a Clean Ganga Fund. These are all various funds set up by central government. And National Fund for Control of Drug Abuse. Like this, many funds are there. 23 funds are there. We definitely don't need to remember all of them. But on a broader basis, you can just have a general look at them and have a memory of what are the funds which are eligible for 100% deduction without any qualifying limit. National Dash Fund is easy. So National Defense Fund, National Children's Fund, National Cultural Fund, and National Sports Fund. These four are there anyway. In addition to that, there is Prime Minister's National Relief Fund, Chief Minister's National Relief Fund. Okay, those two can be easily remembered. Chief Minister's Earthquake Fund, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Cyclone. So 3 states are there particularly mentioned. Maharashtra, Latur cyclone, earthquake happened in Latur long back, and Kutch area of Gujarat had earthquake earlier. So after that, these 2 funds are set up, and those are eligible for ATG. Andhra Pradesh keeps on having cyclones every year, and that name is also there here. So Cyclone Relief Fund of Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh is also here for eligibility of ATG. Blood transfusion, drug abuse control, all these things. The communal harmony. These are general words that we can use. So Clean Ganga, Swachh Bharat Kosh, you can understand easily also, because these 2 definitely are the recent additions to this list. Swachh Bharat Kosh happened recently, means after 2014. Clean Ganga also is a fund which was set up by central government. So these are the overall list of funds to which the SSC can make a donation and can get 100% deduction, 100% without any qualifying limit. That is the point here. So 100% deduction can be taken in those all donations to 23 types of funds. That is first category. Then second category is that donations can be given, but the deduction will be available only 50% of the donation. Let us say if somebody donates 1 lakh rupees, they will get a deduction of only 50,000 rupees. So only 50% deduction is available, but here also there is no limit. If somebody gives 40 crores rupees, they can get 20 crores rupees deduction under ATG. So limit is not there on the amount, but amount of deduction is not 100%. It is 50%. There are only 4 funds here, easy to remember. 3 though we can easily remember from family: Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi. So if we see that, automatically 50% we can give deduction on whatever the amount that is donated by the SSC. In addition to that, there is a Prime Minister's Drought Relief Fund. So that is also eligible for 50% deduction only. Why and all we cannot ask. That is what they wanted to give deduction, they gave it. That's it. So first category 100% deduction without qualifying limit. Second category 50% deduction without qualifying limit. Now we have third category. Here it is 100% deduction but subject to qualifying limit. So here amount of deduction also has a restriction. So there is something called a qualifying limit, and once it is within the qualifying limit, deduction available is 100%. If the amount of donation is within the qualifying limit, then the deduction available is 100%. What is the qualifying limit? We'll come to that later. But first of all, this category has a 100% deduction subject to qualifying limit, that we should understand. Then what are those two things here? First one is donation to government or to any approved local authority, institution or association for promotion of family planning. So for promotion of family planning, if any donation is given to a government or a local authority or an institution or any association, then it is eligible for 100% deduction, but not entire amount. Whatever amount he has donated, no, not like that. Qualifying limit is there. So what is that qualifying limit? We'll come to that later. So deduction is definitely 100%, subject to qualifying limit. Then, second one here is related to sum paid by a company. So you need to keep this in mind. This deduction is not available for everybody. To Indian Olympic Association. Indian Olympic Association or any other association established in India as may be notified for the development of infrastructure, sports or games, etc., or for sponsorship of sports or games in India, if any sum is paid by a company as a donation to these sports related organizations, then they are eligible to get 100% deduction subject to qualifying limit. Again, what are all those notified by the central government? We don't need that. There will be a list for each and every point in this chapter. We don't need all of that. We just need to know the broader names. That is more than enough. So that is the third category, 100% deduction subject to qualifying limit. Then fourth category. Here, fourth category is what? 50% deduction only, but subject to qualifying limit. So first category was 100% deduction without any qualifying limit. Second category was 50% deductions without any qualifying limit. Third category is 100% deduction but with qualifying limit. Now fourth category is 50% deduction but with qualifying limit, subject to that qualifying limit. So that is what normally, just if it is given as a donation to a charitable institution, which not any charitable institution. I know one charitable institution I am donating, I will claim this deduction. No. No, after fulfilling so many conditions, they should be registered and they should have a specific approval related to their charitable activities. So a lot of documentation and administrative work is involved. But anyway, we are not going to do that. So if it is given that a donation is made to an approved charitable institution, where it will fall under the fourth category. That is 50% deduction subject to qualifying limit. Then any site of donation given to government, local authority, etc., for any purpose other than family planning. Earlier we have already donation given to government or local authority for the purpose of family planning. Already it was eligible for 100% deduction subject to qualifying limit. That was in this category. Now we are talking about other category where donation is given to the government or local authority for any charitable purpose other than for the purpose of promoting family planning. It will be eligible for 50% deduction subject to qualifying limit. Then the third one is about any particular authority constituted for the purpose of creating housing accommodations. In other words, which are all responsible for planning, development or improvement of cities or villages or both. Something like HMDA, Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, or Hyderabad Municipal Development Authority, like that CRDA, Capital Region Development Authority, WODA, HUDA, TODA. Like this we have so many WODAs, Urban Development Authorities. Basically examples of them are like that. Like that throughout the country there will be hundreds of them, you can understand. Those are all basically for what? For the purpose of planning, development or improvement of cities, towns or villages or both, or satisfying the need of housing accommodation. Rajiv, Gruhakalpa, like this organizations will be falling under this category, where any donations made to them, we are talking donations, donation made to them will be eligible for a 50% deduction subject to qualifying limit. Then Another one is related to any corporation established by central or state government for promoting the interests of members of minority community. So here once again minority has a very different meaning. Normally in India, minority is a word that we generally understand from a religious point of view. It is not. Minority is a word generally used for that purpose. Normally the lesser percentage of people in the population are called minority from a religious line. But as far as Constitution of India is concerned or any other legal terminology is concerned, this word minority has never been used from a religious perspective. It is used as a general word. This could be on the basis of religion, possible. This could be on the basis of a language also, possible. For example, Telugu speaking people in Tamil Nadu can be minority. Like Bengali speaking people in Telangana, minority. So that is also language could be a basis, religion could be a basis, or even their ethnicity could be a basis. So like that, many bases are there. We don't need to worry about them. But only point is this word minority. Normally, what we use is in a very limited sense of religion, which is not legally correct, is what I'm telling. But anyway, that has nothing to do with this provision. Simply, if the government establishes any corporation for the promotion of interests of members of minority community, that will be also falling in the fourth category, which is eligible for donation, to which is eligible for 50% deduction subject to qualifying limit. And if any donation is given for renovation or repair of what, we can just simply call them religious worshipping places, like notified temple, mosque, gurudwara, church, or any other place of historical, archaeological, or artistic importance, or which is a place of public worship of renown throughout any state or state. So some temples, mosques, gurudwaras, places of worship, we can say. Donation is not given for the place of worship. We are not talking about money that is dropped into the Tirupati Hundi. No, that is not what we are talking. We are talking about a donation given for the renovation or repair of a notified temple, or mosque, or gurudwara, or church, or any other place, or any other archaeological site also. That donation will be also falling in the fourth category. So these are the 5 things which are in the fourth category. So first one is a general fund or a charitable institution which should be approved. Second one is donation to government, that is central, state, or local authority for purposes other than family planning. Third is housing development authorities or town development authorities or town planning authorities, we can say. And development of minority community related corporations or donations given for renovation or repair of any religious or historical places will also be eligible for a 50% deduction subject to qualifying limit. So in the third and fourth categories, we heard this word qualifying limit, qualifying limit. So now naturally question comes, so what is this qualifying limit? Qualifying limit is a restriction we are talking about. So whatever these type of donations we talked about in third and fourth categories only. First and second categories do not have any qualifying limit. First category to 100% deduction without qualifying limit. Second category 50% deduction without qualifying limit. Third category is 100% deduction with qualifying limit. Fourth category is 50% deduction with qualifying limit. So what should be the qualifying limit here? That is the main point here to be noted. That is 10%. Here we are talking about 10% of adjusted gross total income. So whatever is the adjusted gross total income, adjusted gross total income has to be first calculated. On that adjusted gross total income, 10% is what we can call as qualifying limit. That is a qualifying limit. Means deduction cannot exceed that much. That's what we are talking about. So what if a donation is made more than that? For the third and fourth categories, it will be disallowed. It will not be allowed as deduction. Simple. So 10% of the adjusted gross total income is what is the maximum permissible deduction. That's what we have to be, first of all, noting this, that 10% of adjusted gross total income. Of course, we have to also know what is adjusted gross total income. We know it gross total income, but what is adjusted gross total income? We'll come to that. But right now, what we should know, qualifying limit is 10% of adjusted gross total income. So what should we do first? whatever the donations which are qualifying for 100% deduction subject to qualifying limit, they should be first adjusted naturally, because we have to give more benefit to the SSC. First, which adjustments have to be done, which are eligible for 100%. Then on the remaining 50% deduction of the balance will be allowed. So whatever the remaining amount is there, on that 50% should be allowed as deduction. So for example, if a person has donated in category 3 and category 4 certain amounts, something like, let us say he has donated 50,000 rupees for something in category 3, and he has donated say 30,000 rupees for category 4. Okay, totally has donated 80,000 rupees under category 3 and 4. 1 and 2 we don't have to look at qualifying limit and all these things at all. So 50,000 and 30,000 is the real donation. This is under category 3. This is under category 4. Now, we need to definitely first find out how much is the adjusted gross total income. Let us say the adjusted. So after a 50,000 donation to the third category and a 30,000 donation to the fourth category, first we should calculate the adjusted gross total income of that person. Let us say, just for example, let us say that comes to 7 lakhs. So 10% of adjusted gross total income will be naturally 70,000. So now the way we have to give deduction is like this. He has donated 80,000, but the restriction, the amount of restriction is 10% of adjusted gross total income, which came to 70,000. So should we say that 70,000 can be claimed as deduction? Answer is no. It should not be the one. Understand this carefully. First of all, the donations which will qualify for 100% of the amount of donation subject to qualifying limit should be first given the deduction here. In other words, first 50,000 in this can be definitely given as deduction. No problem. But the remaining 20,000, what to do with that? In the remaining 20,000, half of that only is eligible for deduction, which means 10,000 is only eligible for deduction. So what is the total amount of deduction here? Not 80,000, no. Not 70,000, no. It is actually 60,000. This is the amount of deduction that is available for this person if he has contributed to the category 3 and 4 type of funds. That's what is the way to give deduction in respect of third and fourth category donations which are subject to a qualifying limit. And the qualifying limit is 10% of adjusted gross total income. Now naturally question comes, what is adjusted gross total income? Nothing but gross total income as reduced by, it has to be deducted with the following. All those things to be deducted. What are to be deducted from that? From the gross total income in order to arrive at adjusted gross total income. First we should give all other deductions under chapter 6A other than 80G. Because we are calculating deduction under 80G. This should be excluded. Other than this, any other deduction under chapter 6A should be given first. Means gross total income minus first all the deductions under chapter 6A other than 80G. And then short-term capital gain taxable under 111A. What would be that? That is the short-term capital gain arising from the sale of equity shares in the recognized stock exchange. That short-term capital gain should be deducted here. Long-term capital gain normally has to be deducted, and 112A long-term capital gain also to be deducted, means whether it is from sale of equity shares in the recognized stock exchange or not. All long-term capital gains should be reduced here. and any income on which the tax is not payable. For example, agricultural income has to be also deducted. Of course, that would have been already deducted. It would have been already exempted while calculating gross total income itself. So no need to worry about this particularly. So it is a point just mentioned. If there is any income on which tax is not payable, that should also be reduced here. So after doing all these deductions from the gross total income, what we get is called as adjusted gross total income. And from this adjusted gross total income, we have to calculate 10% of that adjusted gross total income. That is the qualifying limit. Okay, that is a point to be noted here. And once we have this adjusted gross total income, that is the maximum amount that is possible to be donated. So that will be not allowed as deduction directly. First, it has to be adjusted against the donations qualifying for 100% deduction, and the remaining amount, out of that, half of which will be allowed as deduction under section 80G, as we have seen in this example. So this is the procedure for calculating deduction under section 80G. Of course, if there is any deduction claimed under this section, same amount cannot be claimed as deduction under any other provision of Income Tax Act, naturally. And another important point, donation in kind is not eligible for deduction. So I will donate blankets, I will donate rice. Good, that's fantastic, congratulations. But that is not eligible for deduction. So here the donation should be in the form of money only. And not only that, if the donation amount exceeds 2,000 rupees, the donation has to be paid by any mode other than cash. In other words, up to 2,000 rupees it can be paid in cash. More than 2,000 rupees, all these donations are eligible for deduction only if they are paid by any mode other than cash. So check, bank transfer, like that, they can be given. That is a point to be noted. And here there is no need that these donations have to be related to the business of the SSC. There is no need of any nexus with the business of the SSC. No need of that. Donations under 80G are available according to the fund and according to the category 1, 2, 3, 4 which they belong to. Not related to the business of SSC, related to the business of SSC, that doesn't matter. That is a point to be noted. The fifth one is just an administrative point. See, normally, when employees donate to any of these funds, individually they may not do that. We often see a particular company's employees have donated their one-day salary to so-and-so fund. So all the employees will contribute their one-day salary to a particular fund, whatever it may be. But when the fund receives this money, it receives a consolidated amount. Individually, one employee may have donated 1,000 rupees, another employee may have donated 2,000 rupees, like this. Imagine all the railway employees donate one-day salary to Prime Minister's Relief Fund. That runs into crores. And check will be given by some railway top authority to the fund. And fund will give a receipt not to all the employees. There are lakhs of employees. The fund will not issue receipt for each employee. So what they will issue? They will just issue one letter. This particular paragraph says it is okay. The circular says it's not a problem. That letter is enough. So not necessary that there should be a individual receipt. If the certificate is issued by the drawing and disbursing officer or employer in this behalf, that is enough. That's a practical administrative thing. We have nothing to do with that. That's it. That is about 80G, donations related deduction. Now coming to solving illustration number 13. So this can be an examination question. Directly these type of questions can be expected in the examination, which cover many deductions, not just one. And basically to calculate the total income of the SSC after the gross total income is already computed. So here, Mr. Shiva is the SSC, aged 58 years, and he has a gross total income of 7,75,000 rupees, comprising of income from salary and house property. That is very clearly given. So that While calculating adjusted gross total income, we should not have question marks about what is the nature of income. Is it a short-term capital gain under 111A? Is it a long-term capital gain under 112 or 112A? No need to speculate. Clearly it is given. It is a simple income from salary and income from house property. And he made the following payments and investments. Point by point, we should know the provision first, then calculation comes later. First point says premium paid to ensure the life of her major daughter. Policy taken on 1/4/2017. So after 1/4/2012. So the restriction of 10% on the sum assured applies. Sum assured is 1,80,000, but premium paid is 20,000. Is this eligible? Definitely not. How much will be eligible? Naturally, only 18,000 rupees will be eligible for deduction here. 20,000 will not be eligible. Why? Because it is exceeding the 10%. So only 10% of sum assured can be claimed as deduction. So 10% of 1,18,000 naturally is 18,000 rupees. Under section 80C, this can be allowed as deduction. First point. Second point. Medical insurance premium for self 12,000, spouse 14,000. Total comes to 26,000. Once again, it should be restricted to 25,000 only because he is aged 58 years. For self and spouse and children all put together cannot exceed 25,000. So it is restricted to 25,000 only, though the actual premium paid is 26,000. Then comes donations. Donations to a public charitable institution registered under ATG. Public charitable institution registered under ATG, 50,000 rupees donation is made by check. That is good. So it is eligible, definitely yes, registered. But which category it belongs to, that we should first identify. Computation we can do later. First of all, it is a fourth category. That means 50% of reduction can only be given, that too subject to qualifying limit. So that is ATG related point. We can push the ATG to the last because for calculating ATG, we anyway need to know adjusted gross total income, for which we need to know other deductions. So we cannot calculate ATG before giving the other deductions under chapter 6A. So we have to push it to the end. Then the fourth point says LIC pension fund 60,000. LIC pension fund will be eligible definitely for deduction under 80 CCC. That is there. That is eligible for deduction under 80 CCC. Possible. Then donation to National Children's Fund. I told you, National Dash Fund. In that, one of that is Children's Fund. This falls under first category that we should identify. Donation to Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Fund. Once again, Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi. All these three fall under second category. That is not the people I am talking about, funds. The funds are in the second category, means half of them only will be eligible for deduction. All are by way of check, so that is a good thing. Then donation to approved institution for promotion of family planning, 40,000 rupees by way of check. So this 40,000 rupees falls under third category, that is family planning promotion, and it is an approved institution. So definitely it is falling under third category, full deduction, but subject to qualifying limit. Deposit in PPF, 1 lakh. Once again, 80C. So 80C is there, 1 lakh. 80C is also there, 18,000. 80CCC is there, 60,000. But as we know, under 80CCE, the overall deduction under all those things cannot exceed 1,50,000. So while calculating the total income of the SSC, the starting point is gross total income, naturally. From that, first find out which are all eligible for ATC, just to take these two. 1 lakh rupees PPF, 18,000 rupees for life insurance premium, plus 80 CCC, that is another 60,000. So total actual savings or investments or 1,78,000, but we have to refer to this section whenever you are restricting it. According to 80CCE, the overall deduction under 80C and 80CCC, and if at all there is 80CC D1 also, all of them put together cannot exceed 1,50,000. So 1,50,000 it is restricted to. That much deduction can be claimed under all these sections. So that is the first deduction that is available. Then deduction under 80D, as we already discussed. Though the real amount paid is 26,000, still it is restricted to 25,000 only. Other than these two, remaining things are all related to 80G. So we need to categorize first of all 80G into what is the donation and which category it falls. For that you should separately calculate in a working notes. Let us take one by one. National Children's Fund. Amount of donation is 25,000. Falls under first category. So directly 100% of that is allowed as deduction. That means 25,000 is allowed as deduction. That is first category. Next one, second category. In this case, Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Fund. Eligible for 50% deduction without any qualifying limit. 50% of 25,000 is 12,500. That is second category. But then comes third and fourth category. Here the calculation has to be carefully done. We cannot directly take the amount of deduction. For that, we first should calculate adjusted gross total income. Another working note. What is adjusted gross total income? Gross total income minus other deductions other than 80G. Other than 80G. So again, you have to go back and see what is the gross total income, 7,75,000 minus 1,50,000 minus 25,000. So 1,75,000 is deducted from 7,75,000 means the adjusted gross total income will be 6 lakhs, and 10% of that will be naturally how much? 60,000. So 60,000 is the qualifying limit. First this we should calculate. Then we'll think about category 3 and category 4. First we have to calculate adjusted gross total income. Then we have to calculate 10% of adjusted gross total income, which is the qualifying limit. So qualifying limit is 60,000. But we know actual donation made is in category 3, that is 40,000, in category 4, that is 50,000. So as we discussed earlier in the small example, first priority should be given to what? First priority should be given to 100% deduction possibility related to category 3. That is 100% of 40,000 comes to 40,000. So 40,000 can be claimed as deduction here. So this is the amount of deduction, that is 40,000. But then out of 60,000 qualifying limit, 40,000 is gone. Remaining is how much? 20,000. In that 20,000, half is only eligible for deduction. That means 10,000 only is eligible for deduction. That is the main point. Though he has donated 50,000, eligibility here is only 10,000 for deduction. Why? Because in the qualifying limit of 60,000, 40,000 is already given here, and remaining is 20,000. In that 20,000, half is only eligible for deduction, which means 10,000. So these are the overall deductions under 80G. 25,000 plus 12,500 plus 40,000 plus 10,000, total comes to 87,500. If you take it to the main answer, that is also a deduction under chapter 6A, reduce it. Then you get total income of the SSC 5,12,500. That is how we should calculate 80G. Very important thing. First you have to remember which fund falls under which category. First and second categories, there is no problem. Only thing is you should remember the names. First category 100% without limit. Second category 50% without limit. Third category 100% but with qualifying limit. Fourth category 50% with qualifying limit. So what is the procedure there? First we should find out adjusted gross total income. Then we should find out qualifying limit by taking 10% of adjusted gross total income. In that, first priority has to be given to 100% deduction. whatever amount is remaining, in that remaining amount, half will be given as deduction for the fourth category. That is how 80G will work. Important section, and lot of names are to be remembered. Most importantly, the procedure for category 3 and 4 has to be very much remembered well. That is 80G. Now let us move on to 80GG. 80GG is related to the rent paid by the SSC. We know that already there is an exemption for HRA, which is qualified for exemption under section 1013A, when an employee receives HRA from the employer. So already it is there. Now why again it is coming under here? Chapter 6A also. No. Here we are talking about those people who are not receiving any HRA. Already those people who are receiving any HRA, they would be anyway having an exemption under 1013A, we know that. But here 80GG is available for those people who are not having any HRA. Imagine a small businessman who is having a PGBP income but not a salaries income. How can he claim 1013A? He is not an employee. He never received HRA from anybody. He is a self-employed person. But he stays in a rented accommodation and pays rent. So, HRA exemption he cannot get. That's unfair. So, in order to give some benefit to that person also, this 80GG has been introduced here. So, that is the main point here to be noted. Main condition is the SSC should not have received HRA first. Then only this 80GG is available. Second, the expenditure incurred by him on the rent of any furnished or unfurnished accommodation should exceed 10% of his total income. Of course, it will be exceeding. Calculation itself will tell that. And naturally, accommodation should be occupied for own residence. We cannot knock his door and check that. These are all normal conditions which will be anyway mentioned or anyway be satisfied. So that is not very important. Main point here to remember is actual deduction under 80GG. So 80GG is about rent deduction for those people who are not in receipt of HRA. Generally for business persons who are paying rent and staying in a rented accommodation, they have the benefit of 80GG. How to calculate? Deduction will be calculated least of the following. Least of the following. First one is rent paid minus 10% of the total income of the SSC before allowing the deduction. So once again, we cannot call it adjusted total income or adjusted gross total income. But here also the logic is same. Before giving this deduction, what is the total income of the SSC that we should calculate? In other words, we should first calculate gross total income. From that, we should give all other deductions under chapter 6A other than 80GG. That's what we are talking about when we say total income before allowing this deduction. On that total income, we should calculate 10%. So rent paid minus 10% of total income, we can say. But remember, this total income is before allowing this deduction. If you remember HRA exemption, more or less similar. There also rent paid minus 10% of salary it was. Here instead, because there is no salary, or even if there is salary, is not in receipt of HRA, then rent paid minus 10% of total income of the SSC before giving this deduction. Second thing, directly 25% of such total income. Of course, what is total income? Arrived at after making all deductions, but before making any deduction under this section. Should we call this also adjusted GTI? We cannot call this because adjusted GTI used in 80G has more deductions than only the other chapter 6A deductions. There you have to reduce long-term capital gains also. There you have to reduce short-term capital gains under 111A also. So those things are all not here. Just total income before allowing deduction is taken. So same name we cannot give for two different things. So we can say total income other than before deducting this deduction. So that is the basis point here for calculation. So rent paid minus 10% of that, or 25% of such total income, or the third one, look at this amount that is calculated at 5,000 rupees per month. In other words, 60,000 rupees maximum per annum, depending upon the number of months he actually stayed in a rented accommodation. That is the limit on the deduction for 80GG. So what are the three things? rent paid minus 10% of adjusted income, let us call it adjusted income, 25% of adjusted income, or 5,000 rupees per month, whichever is lower of all the three, that will be allowed as deduction under 80GG. Let us apply this. This is more possible for a MCQ type question. Ganesh, a businessman whose total income before allowing deduction under 80GG is given already, that is 4,60,000, and he has paid a house rent of 12,000 rupees per month, and in respect of residential accommodation occupied by him at Mumbai. But unlike HRA, here Mumbai, Delhi and all do not matter, by the way. Directly it is 25% of total income. So don't worry about Mumbai and all. That is 1013A, it was important, but here it is not important. Compute the deduction allowable under 80GG is asking. Simple. First thing first, rent paid minus 10% of adjusted income. Already it is given, adjusted income means total income before allowing the deduction under 80GG. So rent paid is 1,44,000 minus 10% of 4,60,000 will be 46,000. So 1,44,000 minus 46,000 will be how much? That we should calculate, and that comes to 98,000. So that is the first point we should calculate and keep it aside. Then 25% of adjusted income, 25% of 2,30,000, 4,60,000. So 4,60,000 divided by 2 is 2,30,000, divided by 2 will be 1,15,000. So that is second point. Third one, as we know already, 60,000 rupees per annum, 5,000 rupees per month. So that is C point, which is allowed as deduction under 80GG, whichever is lower. So which is lower naturally? 60,000, 98,000, 1,15,000. Lower is 60,000. So deduction is 60,000. By the way, this is deduction, not exemption. That clarity should always be there. Here 60,000 can be directly claimed as deduction from the gross total income of the SSC under section 80GG. That's it. That is 80GG. Important, very important for MCQs. Definitely a question can be expected on that also. Then coming to another deduction under 80GGA. Here we don't need to really go into the details of this, but only just understand the logic, then it is enough to understand why it is placed here. If you remember PGBP, for any businessman who had contributed to scientific research, donated to the scientific research and rural development, they had deductions under section 35, etc. But what if a salaried employee wants to do a donation for scientific research? He can do that, but he will not get any benefit because he doesn't have PGBP income, so he cannot claim 35. That is unfair. So in order to give some benefit to them, any SSC not having an income under PGBP, so whoever is the SSC who is not having an income under PGBP, they can donate to scientific research or rural development. Enough. What are all eligible? Anything. So many things are eligible. Just scientific research, rural development, you can remember, that is enough. And if the donation exceeds 10,000 rupees, it has to be made by any mode other than cash. That is only restriction you can remember. Other than that, there is nothing much. Is there any amount restriction? No. If somebody donates lakhs of rupees also, no problem, they can get a deduction. But this is not 80G deduction, we're talking 80GGA. This is for donation for scientific research and rural development. So that is the point to be noted. For those people who do not have PGBP income, those who have PGBP income, anyway they can claim under section 35 or 35 CCA, blah, blah, blah. So many things are there already in PGBP. But here they have a deduction available under 80GGA. So that is about scientific research and rural development related donations by SSC who do not have PGBP income. That's it. So what are all there here? So many possibilities are there, but you can remember this one, which you already know. National Urban Poverty Eradication Fund. If this name is given, it can be given to confuse you between ATG and ATGGA. You should be clear. This National Urban Poverty Eradication Fund falls under ATGGA, but not under ATG. It was not mentioned in any of the lists of 4 categories of ATG. So this name you should remember, that is National Urban Poverty Eradication Fund. That's enough. Other than this, contribution to a university, IIT, etc., college for scientific research is eligible for deduction under ATGGA. Whatever amount is donated, that is eligible for deduction. But only condition here is, if the donation is exceeding 10,000 rupees, that donation has to be made by any mode other than cash. That is ATGGA. Now moving on to ATGGB. This is also related to donations or contributions only. But to whom? To political parties. So anybody can donate to political parties also. That is their democratic right. So if any contribution is made by an Indian company to a political party, we are talking about a company here, and to whom they are contributing, to whom they are donating, to any political party or any electoral trust. There are many electoral trusts in India, to which will in turn give donations to political parties. So any donation or contribution given by an Indian company to a political party or an electoral trust will be eligible for deduction only when, if it is made by any mode other than cash. So no deduction if the donation is made by cash. That is a point to be noted. Contribute means what and all, we don't need it. Political party, we don't need it. So political party is a political party. Many parties are there in India who are like registered. So that is ATGGB. That is political party donations made by Indian company. Understand the SSC here. Indian company is the SSC for ATGGB. Whereas ATGGA is any SSC who is not having income under PGBP. So there are restrictions to be remembered for each of these sections. And then you can look at this illustration number 15. ABC Limited, an Indian company, has donated the following things: a sum of 2 lakhs rupees to an electoral trust. Can it claim it as deduction? Yes, it can. Under ATGGB, there is no problem. And incurred expenditure of 25,000 rupees on advertisement in a brochure of a political party. So the question is the company eligible for deduction in respect of contribution or expenditure, assuming the contribution was made by check? If so, how much is eligible for deduction? So here, donation or contribution can be even in the form of advertisement in a brochure of a political party, which was disallowed under PGBP, if you remember. It is disallowed as an expenditure in PGBP, but it is allowed here under ATGGB. So the contribution or a donation can include directly a payment given by the company, or it can be in the form of an expenditure incurred by a company in respect of an advertisement given in any publication of a political party. Same thing, which was disallowed in PGBP, is now allowed as a separate deduction under ATGGB. So how much can be claimed as deduction by this company ABC Limited? Entire amount of 2,25,000 can be claimed under ATGGB, but they cannot claim any deduction under PGBP head. That we know already. So already there was a disallowance in PGBP under section 37 2B. So it would have been already disallowed, but here it is allowed as deduction under ATGGB. That's it. Sir, what about other people? We are talking about only companies, Indian company ATGGB. But as an individual, I want to donate. Can I donate? Of course, anybody can. Can I get deduction? Of course you can. But section is only different, ATGGC. So this is applicable to any person. Any person, if they are contributing to a political party or electoral trust, that will be eligible for a deduction. But once again, same thing. No deduction if the amount is paid in cash. No deduction at all. It has to be paid through check or Recently, electoral bonds are also one of the ways of giving donations to the political parties. Those are okay. But who are not eligible for this deduction? For Indian companies, already it is there under 80 GGB. Here, local authorities cannot do these donations. Artificial juridical persons who are partly funded by government also are not eligible for this deduction. That's a little different type of situation, because government organization is funding to a political party. Maybe generally it will fund the party in government only, so that is not fair. So they are not eligible for deduction is one of the restrictions, but we don't need to worry about it. But normally our SSC is individual. If an SSC contributes to a political party, is he eligible for deduction under 80 GGC? Answer is yes. How much, sir? How much ever you want to donate, no problem. All restrictions will be there for donations to charitable institutions, 50%, qualifying limit to 50%. Those are all there. But for political parties, no limit, no qualifying limit, no nothing. Full amount. How much ever amount anybody wants to donate to political parties or electoral trusts, they can do so and claim a deduction under 80 GGC happily. That is their right, definitely. And they have that facility under 80 GGC also. So these are various things mostly related to donations here. 80 GGC is about donations to political parties. 80 GGB is also about donation to political parties, but by an Indian company. 80 GGA was about scientific research related donations by the people other than those who are having PGBP income. Only one thing here is 80 GG, which is not related to donations, but that is related to rental expenditure of any person who is not in receipt of HRA. And prior to that, 80G is about all about donations. So this is another series of sections. We can say 80G series, 80G, 80GG, and 80GGA, and 80GGB, and 80GGC. These are another series of deductions that are there for different types of SSCs from their gross total income under chapter 6A. So with that, we can conclude today's session, and in the next session, we'll continue this discussion on deductions in respect of certain incomes. So far, all the deductions we discussed about, we can call that 80C series. That is one category of deductions. Then 80D series started, lot of 80D, 80DDB, like that, those are all there. Then 80G series is also there. So different types of deductions we have discussed already. But those are all one common point they all have. One is that, what is that is, SSC has incurred some expenditure. SSC has donated, or SSC has spent, or SSC has saved, invested. End of the day, SSC has some money going out of his pocket. That is a common point with all the deductions we discussed so far. These are all one category. Now we'll move on to another category in the next class. Those are the deductions available to the SSCs on the basis of their incomes. So certain deductions are available for incomes earned by the SSCs also. What are those deductions? We'll continue this discussion later. But once again, I would like to remind you, you need to write these provisions, the summary of them, the key points only you have to write on paper in your notes. And when you revise it later, it should be very quick revision. It should not take that much time, because all the key points will be there in front of you in your own handwriting. So make sure you write these provisions and revise them repeatedly. Then only solving problems will be helpful. That is a common point with any aspect of taxation. Same thing applies to deductions also. Definitely a lot of memory will be required. And I would say more than what has to be remembered, in this chapter the challenge is what should be ignored. That also is an important aspect, because if you keep on remembering everything in this 90 pages of material, that doesn't make sense. That is like unproductive, waste of time. So directly reach to the core points. Who is the eligible SSC? What should he do? How much amount of deduction? And what are the conditions? Is there any restriction on the amount of deduction? That's all. Like this, core aspects of each section, if you write, that becomes a table, and that will be a reference point for revision in future. So make that habit now, and we'll continue with some more deductions in the next class. Till that time, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.